Now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a first edition of the DADS, Not Always on Wrestling, for 2023.
We back, bitches.
I'm still trying to figure out where the hell 2022 went, Meacham, for real.
Know, right?
But we're here. We're doing our thing. We've got some pretty good topics in store for you over the course of the year.
Yes.
Obviously, wrestling topics, non-wrestling topics. Nice little amalgamation, a little hodgepodge, a little witch's brew, if you will, bubbling up in the cauldron.
Yes.
And Full disclosure, some of the shows that we planned over the course of the year were originally booked when we were doing dads on Fridays.
Right.
So some of the themes were done to coincide with what was supposed to happen on that day.
Right.
When the man whose name is on the marquee over here decided to move things over to Mondays, it kind of made some of the topics not as relevant in the grand scheme of things, but they're still solid topics that we really want to try to get into, especially the non-wrestling topics, because
yes.
we've come up with some doozies, if you will, for the course of the year. Much like today's show, today we're going to be discussing the top 10 voice actors
Yes.
of all time.
Yes.
Obviously, as always, subjective.
Quite so.
And as you're talking here, I'll put a little banner together so it can just scroll the whole time as per the usual, because I don't have that banner in my side, and we're filming on my StreamYard today.
Yes.
Because there's so much shit going on this weekend. Jeff needs me to come in the clutch and produce this so it'll go up in time on Monday. Again, full disclosure, it is Saturday. We have not done open mic night yet. It is 1 o'clock on the West Coast in the afternoon. This has got to be up in less than 48 hours.
Yeah.
And no disrespect to my cohort, but we all know that when it comes to editing, he can be a little bit lazy at times.
Not just lazy, but
just
the sheer lack of time. Because you remember, we're recording this at 1 o'clock, like you said, on Saturday. We still have open mic night to do. I've still got to get through a family dinner with the kiddo being finally back home and away from the asylum, because Lord knows that's always a grand event when he gets to come home from the nut house. Tomorrow, Sunday, as we're recording this on Saturday, I have a shift in the middle of the day, much like my shift on the 21st, that just kind of everything up. So forgive me if my timing is not mine. And then the show's due up Monday at 3 p.m. our time. So it kind of just is what it is, which is why we're doing this today. But man, I believe we originally chose this to go up on the 6th, which would have been Natalie's birthday. But I know one of the prominent voice actors, if I remember right, was in the category of the best of all time, which is why we laid it in there at that particular juncture. So,
yeah,
plus,
I think it was also supposed to be one of their birthdays.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant to say, but that's okay. Plus, your daughter, along with both of us, love all these voice actors that we're going to talk about. So it just kind of made sense to go up on her birthday, on their birthday, and it just clicked, if you will. Much like our February show is going to be, and we'll talk about it at the end, but, top 10 musicians taken too soon was going to be the exact anniversary of the day the music died. So that was, and that's still, especially for this gentleman who is our music and movies aficionado, that is a huge point. That's a huge point in history for everybody. It really is. So,
whether they know it or not,
right? Whether you guys realize it or not at home, that day in history was poignant for reasons that we will get into in February. And of course, our next show is about the Royal Rumble, because that following Saturday will be the Royal Rumble. So there you go.
Absolutely.
But we digress, as we do on the show. Please buy the shirt, by the way. You can buy that shirt. You can buy this shirt. You can buy that shirt on our Teespring. So, we're getting them out there slowly but sure as the new year unfolds. I am so glad we get to get back into the rhythm of taping. I know we really hammered out those shows in December.
We did.
And
we did good. We cranked those out. Everyone that's seen them knows there was a little bit of a hiccup getting one of the Disney ones down and being able to get to it. But with that being the only hiccup out of 6 or so shows that we did in those 2 months, that's still really good.
Yeah, you figure we had a show, I believe the Monday after Thanksgiving was the last show we didn't have, or the last day we didn't have a show up before last Monday. So we threw those out. Plus we had the open mic nights that were live that were very long in the tooth, as far as the Christmas Carols episode and
Jesus.
And New Year's Eve.
I'm still recovering from those.
Seriously, New Year's Eve, if I can impart one piece of advice, if I can make one resolution, I've got not to do that in 2023. Don't attempt to be Ryan Seacrest with no voice. It does not work. Especially if you have a shouting match with your in-laws and then you get sick. It's just not, that's a bad recipe for a hosting gig.
Yeah, for sure.
But we're back. The new year, not quite a new us, although I am very happy to finally get the graphics going and finally get everything moving this year. So I suppose because it's a non-wrestling show, you want me to go first and have you bring it
Please.
home. Okay.
Please.
We can do that.
I mean, I did relinquish a little bit during the non-wrestlings in December because everything was non-wrestling.
I mean, that's fair.
It wasn't going to be fair for me to just dominate the month and be like, you're the man on the marquee. F you. This is my shit.
Right. My shit.
Not trying to do all that. So, we formulated a plan there. Yes. As I like to say, sometimes we stopped, collaborated, and listened to each other.
We did.
And we came up with the best plan that worked for everybody so that he still had his time in the spotlight and I didn't relinquish my authority over the course of the month. Yes, so, yes, now that we are new month, new year, new theme, take it away, Meacham.
Yes, sir. So the first two, I'm putting them at number 10 and number 9, but it's really only because it wouldn't be fair to rank them any higher because both 10 and 9 are groups, if you will. Okay. So complete cop out for the record. I'm going to go ahead and throw that right off the top of the bat because, I tried to get this to be a collaborative list and JJ called my punk card and said, no, motherfucker, do your own damn thing. All right. I'll do it. That's why I'm Jeff Mother F and Meacham, I guess. So there you go. So my number 10, I got to get out of the way because I have to talk about this character and the voices behind it, or I wouldn't be a proper cast member and employee of the Walt Disney Company. So now,
Jesus, here we go.
No. Hey, hang on. Before you get all Jesus on me, I think you'll be proud of this entry, and I'll tell you why. Not only did I name the 4 primary actors that have portrayed the mouse, I found stills of every one of their first appearances doing the voice of Mickey Mouse. Walt, of course, Steamboat Willie. Oh, wait, Plain Crazy was made first. Not with sound, it wasn't MFers. So Steamboat Willie is still the first official sound that Mickey makes with the whistle, of course. Of course, the famous, Steamboat Willie whistle. Jimmy McDonald, actually, his first outing as Mickey was on a film called Mickey Down Under, hence Mickey with the hat on and the boomerang in his hand, and there's that. Contrary to popular belief, Wayne Allwine's first outing as Mickey was not Mickey's Christmas Carol. It was the new Mickey Mouse Club in 1977. So, hence, the first episode of that particular era of the Mickey Mouse Club and Mickey introducing the show holding a basketball. So there is that. And, of course, Brett Iwan, Mickey Mouse Club, effing duh. We all know where Brett got his start. Pretty much the CGI era of the mouse. That's Brett. Wayne did definitely start as Mickey Mouse in the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, but Brett has been the predominant voice the last, my goodness, 14 years. That's crazy that Wayne's been gone that long.
Yeah, for real.
So 09, so 13 years, but even still.
Well, it depends when in 09, because you figure my daughter was born in 09 and she just turned 14. So
yeah, it was definitely later in the year. Yeah, it was later in the year.
So almost 14 years.
Almost 14 years, but yeah.
I knew that Mickey's Christmas Carol wasn't his first. I've always called Mickey's Christmas Carol his first major appearance.
Right. And
I mean, I knew he had done some work. It's all voiceovers, but I knew he'd done some voiceover work for the parks and the records and stuff like that, but nothing major until Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Yes.
And I always pinpoint that because it's the passing of 2 eras. It's Wayne's first major as Mickey, and it's Clarence Nash's last major, the original voice of Donald Duck.
Yes.
And they just kind of both cross paths in the night there.
Yes. I did find out something in the course of my doing research for the voices of Mickey, though, which I didn't know about prior to this. And as an employee, I probably should. Jimmy was actually the original voice of Chip, which I didn't know.
Oh.
Walt, of course, Mickey, Minnie, I'm pretty sure he was Pete as well in the early ones. So, Wayne did a few voices. Brett's, done more voiceover work than just Mickey, but of course, you look on his IMDb, it's Mickey Mouse. So there is that. But yeah, I couldn't do a voiceover show or a voice actor show without having the voices of Mickey, just because he has been such an important part of our friendship, a part of our history, a part of my history, especially, the company itself. So anyway, that's.
I'm gonna go ahead and get this out there. I do not have any voice of Mickey on my list.
I didn't think you would because, truth be told, the voices of Mickey have been primarily Mickey and not anything else. So,
because I knew you would have him,
right?
I honestly thought he'd be higher than number 10, though.
But
I figured just because of the importance of the character of the mouse to you in your life, he'd at least be top 5.
Right, and again, as much as this is subjective, I also wanted to be objective. And the voices of Mickey, like I said, have been primarily voicing only either Mickey or at least Mickey and Friends, and I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into that. Now, this next group at my number 9, for lack of a better term, yes, they each have their own primary distinctive role on the program I'm going to be talking about, but a lot of these people have gone well beyond Springfield. My goodness. I mean, The Simpsons, you've got Dan, you've got Julie Kavner, of course, Nancy Cartwright, Yardley Smith, Hank Azaria, and Harry Shearer, the primary Simpsons 5, if you will. I did throw in Kelsey Grammer and Phil Hartman because Phil was such a huge part of the first, I'll say, decade or so of The Simpsons before his untimely death.
Yeah.
And Kelsey as Sideshow Bob is the greatest villain in Simpsons history. I will die on that hill with a stake of clown pie in my heart. Because damn it, Sideshow Bob's tremendous. But everybody that's been on The Simpsons has also done other things besides Simpsons. Most notably, at least in my mind right now, of course, Dan having the dubious distinction of having to fill in for Robin Williams in the second Aladdin movie because there was a lawsuit going on. Rob didn't want to be bothered. But they've all done great work outside of Springfield, like I said. But as much as Family Guy has been the defining animated thing for our initial friendship, besides Disney, The Simpsons was my childhood jam. So much so that it was out. The entire network was outlawed in my house, pretty much, because Married with Children and The Simpsons were the two primary shows. My mom was like, "Oh no!" So,
as I've gotten older, and maybe this is partially true with you, but as I've gotten older, my taste in the animated families, if you were, has evolved. Went from Simpsons to South Park to Family Guy.
Right.
And just kind of followed that evolution, if you will.
Yes.
Once The Simpsons lost its luster to me was right around the same time South Park was getting hot.
Yes.
Once South Park started to fall off a little bit was around the same time Family Guy was there to pick up the pieces.
Exactly.
Some people say The Simpsons has been on way too long. And to an extent, I can agree with that because you figure the first episode aired Christmas of '89.
Yeah.
And here we are in 2023 and the show is still on the air.
Yeah.
And then South Park started, I want to say fall of 97.
Something like that.
So you figure Simpsons had already had almost an entire decade run if you count the Tracy Ullman Show skits.
Yep.
By the time South Park debuted.
Yep.
And then Family Guy started early 2000s. We'll say 01, 02, 03, somewhere in that little juncture.
Yeah.
So you figure South Park had already had a 5-year run by that point.
Yeah.
And South Park has always been hit or miss for me.
Yes, agreed.
The first couple seasons were solid. After that, episodes here and there.
Yep.
But The fact that the Simpsons are still on the air with the entire same cast, Phil notwithstanding, of course, because he's passed away.
Right.
As have a few of the other voices over the years.
Yes, you figure Marsha Wallace.
Yes, Mrs. Krabappel.
Yeah, and I was going to agree with the graphic, but I really wanted to get the core five, because Dan and Julie and Nancy and Yardley and Hank, and Harry, the six.
The Sensational Six.
Sensational Six. There you go. See, we may not have owned them at first, but we were always influencing them at Disney. It's such a load of shit, but whatever, I'll take it. It's such corporate crap. Anyway, those six have been there from the very beginning.
Okay.
And when you think about who one of the primary writers was there prior to him getting a spot on NBC following Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien.
Yes.
And the genius that was Conan in his pre-Tonight Show debacle life. My God. And Conan was also writing for Saturday Night Live at the time. Let's not forget that, which is why Phil Hartman was an integral part of the guest star rotation on The Simpsons, because they were collaborating with them. So, man, can you imagine if The Simpsons would have been on NBC? Man, there have been such crossover. It'd have been ridiculous.
Yeah, for real.
All right.
I'll admit, I was a little hesitant when I heard you saying groups and Cheap Way Out, but solid takes there. Solid takes. I'm willing to concede those groupings to you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Now we're going to get into the people that are individuals.
All right.
Now, for me, the next person, the first person by himself, is only so low because he was primarily a featured star prior to my time on this earth, number one. Number two, watching television or listening to voiceover work in general. But he definitely influenced my animated watchings in syndication and on Saturday mornings. Casey Kasem. Man, Casey Kasem. If you were a Scooby-Doo fan and you didn't know Casey Kasem was, Zoinks, what's wrong with you? First of all, because he was Shaggy. Before anybody else was Shaggy, before the indomitable Matthew Lillard took his turn as Shaggy and did a damn good job, by the way. Let's give Matt a little love there. Casey Kasem, made that voice must do, right? He was the voice of Robin. I believe it was on the I forget the name of the actual cartoon, but it was the Batman and Robin Adventure or something. It was this Batman and Robin era that crossed over with Scooby-Doo all the friggin' time. In that same era of animation. He was on Speed Racer. So I love Speed Racer, watching as a kid, and he was a huge part of that. He was on Transformers. He basically, if you turned on Saturday morning rerun cartoons in the 70s, 80s, early 90s, and it wasn't Mel Blanc, it was pretty much Casey Kasem at that point. Really, Mel was more of the Warner Brothers. Casey definitely was on the Hanna-Barbera side of things. So there you go.
Yeah, it's funny because I was doing my research for the show and I was looking up, the images that you'll see later for mine. And I saw an image kind of like that pop up for Casey, and it was like, I always knew about Shaggy.
Yeah.
I had no idea about Robin.
Right? I didn't either until
I had no idea about some of those others because I was never really a huge Transformer guy in the 80s, believe it or not.
No, I believe it.
Speed Racer, the same thing. Like most of those characters that were up there,
yeah,
I wasn't big on, except for Scooby-Doo and obviously Batman. And like you talk about, the Scooby-Doo meets Batman episode that was on VHS, transferred to DVD, which I own. I'm not sure if it's had a Blu-ray release yet.
Damn it should.
But I had no idea that he was Robin on those.
So yeah. So when Shaggy's talking to Robin, he's talking to it's like you're watching Muppet Family Christmas, and Frank's talking to Jim, and Jim's talking to
Let's not start there. Let's not start.
I just rewatched it today, and I'm going, Bert and Ernie, you're talking to Kermit and Fozzie, and I can't process this shit.
And then Robin talking to Gobo. That's the other one. That's the other one where I just lose it every time.
Yeah,
And
stop that.
let's not miss the Cookie Monster Animal cross. You know, where
Yeah.
Cookie Monster steals Janice's cookies, and then Animal, which is also Frank Oz, comes by and is like, "That's my kind of fella."
Right? It's like,
I understand that reference, Frank. You think you're
Yeah.
slick, but
like-
I get it. I get it.
like Muppet Family Christmas, not so family friendly in some of this dialogue here. Let's just, come on now. All right. Anyway, the next one for me again is not low on the list because he's not great. It's just I didn't think of him primarily as a voice person until we did our Christmas episodes this last year, and he came up quite frequently as the man with the red hat and the big pot belly that shooks like a bowl full of jelly. But Hal Smith, man, I mean, yes, he did play Goofy when the original voice of Goofy. Forgive my ignorance on the voice before Bill. But he was Goofy in Mickey's Christmas Carol, which I did not know until we had done our Christmas shows. I was like, oh, that's right.
I know Pinto Colvig was the original Goofy, but I don't know if there was another one between him and Hal and Bill.
No, I when I was doing my research, when I was making this list, the name you just said did come up. So yeah, he briefly replaced Pinto before Bill took it over, and I think it was '86 that Bill officially assumed the role of Goofy. Forgive me, Bill, if I'm wrong on that, buddy. Love Bill, but he was the original voice of Owl in the shorts that ended up becoming the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh movie. Played Santa in every damn thing, like we talked about. On our show, he was Santa on Brady Bunch, which was live action, but he played Santa in both Flintstone Christmas specials. He was a drunken Santa, I believe, in live action on something. Like I said, he was one of the many people on the list that the voice was there, you just didn't know it was there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the mark of a great voice actor, when he does so many distinctive different voices that you don't know it's the same person. That is key to this list, brother. I'll tell you what.
Yes.
And Hal Smith was definitely one of the original ones. I mean, and on top of all that, he was the town drunk Otis on Andy Griffith. So him playing a drunk Santa wasn't a big stretch for him. Because he's played both for
best of both worlds.
I'm gonna say okay. Well, there you go. He did both so many years. Like, I can do both together. Let's do this thing. Just give me a red hat.
He was a drunk Santa before Billy Bob Thornton made it cool.
He was drunk Santa before Jeff Meacham made it perfect. Anyway, that's right, Billy Bob. I'm mad at you. Made my list anyway. That's okay. But yeah, I now that I know where Hal Smith's been as far as the voiceover world, I love me some Hal Smith. So that's why he's there. So there you go. All right. The next one, again, not low because it's very, and the dog is clearly wanted to do her own voiceover on the show. So we're going to go and let her do her thing. The sign says on air. It's lit up. Come on, dog, read. Anyway, that was a gift from my brother. I actually have an on-air thing outside my door now. Anyway, that's I will leave it in, whatever. So the next one, again, not low because he certainly got a prolific list. It's just I like the ones on the list higher than him a little bit better. But again, it's one of those, I knew what he had done. It's what I did know he'd done that made him jump out on my list even further. Billy West. I knew he was the original, I forget if he was Ren or Stimpy. I forget which one it was. But he ended up eventually doing both. So again, another guy had spending the half hour of TV talking to his damn self. But he did both those so well. Of course, he was Fry on Futurama. I knew he was Doug on the Doug TV show. I did not know he had also played Roger, which was a tremendous, like, whoa, that was crazy because there's such distinctive different voices between the two of them. He is the current Red M&M commercials, which I did not know. He's the current Woody Woodpecker. Also did not know that. He is Buzz. I didn't know that Buzz the Bee had a name. I thought he was just the Bee in Honey Nut Cheerios commercials, but he apparently has a name. And of course, he's done other roles on Futurama as well. But yeah, Billy West is kind of like, again, one of those like Hal's, like you didn't know he was there, but now you know, and knowing's half the battle, as you always tell me, brother. So
yeah, I've known of the greatness of Billy West for a while, and he was definitely in some serious contention on my list.
Right.
the reason he didn't make it is because none of those characters up there defined my childhood.
Right. Those
With
are very
the
much
exception
like
of Woody Woodpecker, and he's a modern Woody. He wasn't my Woody Woodpecker.
Right. He wasn't the Woody Woodpecker that we heard as kids in reruns or when they first ran. So,
like Ren and Stimpy, I watched a little bit once Beavis and Butthead had his shelf life.
Right.
Doug, I've seen an episode or two. Same with Futurama. Never really got into those shows.
Right.
So at the end of the day, that's why he did not make my list, but definitely deserves an honorable mention on my end.
Yes, absolutely.
He's definitely one of those you would consider a Renaissance man.
Yes.
He doesn't have his hands in one particular cookie jar, works for many different companies.
Yes.
Gets around. I mean, you figure just right there, you had Fox and Nickelodeon.
Yep. And again, and
plus the commercials.
At the time he was doing the Nickelodeon and Fox shows, I don't think they were the same company at that point yet, because I think, I'm sorry, they're still not, because Nickelodeon is Paramount. Take that back. But even still, well, anyway, it doesn't really matter. We're going to own everybody anyway. We're going to buy the world.
That's right. May end up owning the WWE by the end of the year. Just one more piece in Mickey, Thanos, and Infinity Gauntlet there.
You know what's funny though, and I as we're taping this, I haven't mentioned it, but I'm going to say it. I mentioned this on Saturday. The fact that Disney wasn't on that list of potential suitors that came out last week surprised the hell out of me. I'm not going to lie. Anyway, next one is one that I've only recently became aware of, but now that I'm aware of this person, my goodness, where has my listening ears been all this time? Tara Strong. Now, was she the original voice of Harley Quinn? No. That is the beloved Arlene Sorkin from Days of Our Lives. Let's not sell Arlene short by any means. But when you hear Harley nowadays, it's definitely Tara. When you hear every voice you see on here, and there's a reason the images are so small, folks, is because there's so damn many of them. And she's basically a part of every possible animated universe you can think of if you really just take the time and go, okay, she is our generation's voiceover Batgirl. I'm pretty sure she's even, growing up on the the Batman animated series. I'm pretty sure she was Barbara on that show as well, so she's been there from the beginning. She did play Betty Boop later on in Betty Boop's more modern existence, even though it's Betty's in black and white there. Fairly
that's not Betty Boop.
Oh, it's not Betty. You're right. I'm sorry.
That's a knockoff version that was from the cartoon Drawn Together.
Oh, that's right.
It was supposed to be like a real world with cartoon characters.
That's right. That's right.
They had a Betty Boop-esque character. I forget what her actual character name was, but
you're 100% right. That's my bad for forgetting that, because I actually did watch Drawn Together. It's actually pretty damn funny. But okay, sorry Betty and everybody who's portrayed Betty. That is my bad there. See, that's why he's a non-wrestling expert.
You've got Raven there from Teen Titans. You've got Supergirl.
She's very much done it all, particularly in the DC animated universe. And I can't express enough how awesome Tara is. And she's one of those that if she's on a convention docket that I happen to be attending anyway, I make sure I allocate a little extra money so I can go get a picture with her, because she's that awesome. So definitely looking forward to whenever she pops up again, because I'm definitely going to want to go check it out. All right. Now we're going to get into some, let's see where we're at here. All right. The next one is probably I'm just trying to look at the list here that's left. Yes. He is the youngest of the remainings for me. And again, he's primarily on one show or even one universe, we'll say, because they've kind of crossed the different shows he's involved into each other's existences. But how can you have a modern show go up in 2023 about voice actors without Seth MacFarlane? Seth is, and granted, like I said, primarily Family Guy and American Dad, I'm not going to try to bullshit y'all. But if anybody was the modern day Man of a Thousand Voices, who we'll get to momentarily, it's Seth MacFarlane. He can do any voice, and the voices on the screen are only the ones he's credited for. As far as like he's been hired to play these roles, or he's hired himself to play these roles in some cases. His version of Kermit the Frog is uncanny. And I think even our resident Muppet expert in the Jeff Meacham Multiverse of Media will concede how funnier than hell Seth MacFarlane's Kermit the Frog is. Particularly Kermit the Frog doing Liam Neeson in Taken. I have a few skills. I don't even want to do the whole bit because I'll crack myself up, but it's funnier now. Cannot recommend Seth enough to any fan. Now, the material he's on, you might want to have a little parental guidance before you turn on Family Guy, American Dad, and especially Ted the Teddy Bear. Wow.
Ted is awesome.
That is wonderful. I'm not even going to front. I love that. I love those movies.
I'm not going to lie. When I first watched Ted, I was like, I'm not going to like this. I'm not going to like this.
Right.
And about a quarter of the way through, I was doubled over. I could hardly breathe. I was laughing so hard.
It is ridiculous how funny that movie should not be, and it is anyway.
It's the only franchise where he doesn't religiously make fun of Mila Kunis.
Right.
I mean, because that's his Meg Griffin anyways, but
right.
It's like, okay, you're the butt of virtually every joke in Family Guy, so we're going to put you in this, and we're not going to make fun of you like that. It's like...
No. You got a little love for her in there. It's like all right, we love Mila enough, we're going to include her, but we're not going to shit on her like we do on the cartoons.
For
but
real.
Yeah, I adore Seth. I had the chance to meet him and just to get to talk to him and like just sit there and okay, yes, it's his voice, but you're not talking to Brian the dog, so just stop. You're talking to Seth now, so just breathe, Jeff. It's okay. He's so good. He's so good at what he does. Much like this next gentleman was so good at what he does. Now, I only have a few of his roles in the graphics, so forgive me, because I know he's done more than what you see, as far as I know. But the ones listed here were so iconic, especially to my current company employer, that I have to mention Sterling Holloway. The Cheshire Cat, Ka the Snake, and Winnie the Pooh. We'll just let those sit there for a minute because, my goodness, iconic voices in company history, in company cinematic history. And I blame you for this, by the way, Jay. But, having to realize that it's the same person and then trying to watch, movies in the same day or whatever and be going, I take it back. I blame you and Teresa. The whole Kitty Ape Baloo thing. It's all y'all's fault for this shit. Because now whenever I watch Jungle Book, I hear Winnie the Pooh. Whenever I watch Alice in Wonderland, I hear freaking Ka the Snake. And I'm like, I can't. Because, yes, most of these people on the list have distinct voices for everybody. Not Sterling Holloway. Sterling Holloway is Sterling Holloway is Sterling Holloway. That is the voice that comes out of that character's mouth. It doesn't matter who or what he's playing. That is, that's Sterling on that. It's like, ding, hello. Distinctive. But when the man mentions Winnie the Pooh and the Jungle Book and Alice in Wonderland were such a major part of, I know, your growing up, a part of my growing up, watching in those god-awful clamshell VHSs, that he's literally become part of my animated voiceover makeup in my brain. Like I can't imagine growing up without the voices he provided to my existence at all. So
there you go. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out here right now. I don't have Sterling. I don't have Phil Harris.
What?
And I'm going to tell you why. Because you just touched on the point when you were talking about Sterling. Sterling is Sterling is Sterling. Every character sounds the same.
Same with Phil, right?
That is why they don't make my list.
That's a very valid argument to why they won't be on the list. And like I said, I made the point for you.
As
but
much as I love both those guys, we all know how partial I am to Baloo and Little John, and Thomas
Yes.
O'Malley a little bit less, but and then Cheshire Cat and Ka and Roquefort the Mouse from the Aristocats and Mr.
Yep.
Stork.
Yeah.
But they all sound the same, like you just said.
Yes. Yeah. Sterling is
So
Sterling.
so that was one of my criteria.
Right.
Is that when you do a voice, they gotta sound different.
That's fair.
Now you can reuse a voice for a different universe, but as long as the voices you're doing within the same universe sound different.
Right. And with
that was my big thing.
Yeah. And I will give Sterling and Phil both a pass there. Yes, they are in the same company, but except on House of Mouse and the other crossover TV shows later, the characters didn't interact on screen.
That's fair. That's fair. But
that's why I didn't even go there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's again, the voice work, is not distinctive, but it's no less legendary or fantastic. So, all right, number 2 and number 1, it was so tough to pick which one was going to be which. I'm not going to lie.
I'm curious to see where we go here.
Well, I went with my number 1 being number 1 because I had a feeling that my number 2 is going to be your number 1. So, I'm going to very briefly say the name and move right along because that's what I promised you I would do with this person. Jim Cummings. Okay, we're good. Here we go. Jim Cummings is on my list. Jim Cummings is on my list. There you go.
Okay.
Right. Now, my number 1, because he was the original Man of 1,000 Voices.
That's fair.
Mel Blanc. Now, did I grow up watching Disney primarily? No, I actually didn't. Saturday mornings were the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show, man. And the Looney Tunes reruns from 19 and back.
Yeah, for sure.
So
because a lot of people don't realize when we were kids, Disney didn't really have their footing in the Saturday mornings just yet.
No, they did not.
It wasn't until Gummy Bears and DuckTales that they kind of started to get their feet wet with what would become the Disney afternoon.
Yes.
Those also aired on Saturday mornings.
Yep.
You'd get the new episode on Saturday morning and then the reruns and syndication in the Disney afternoon.
Yep.
So like you said, man, like the Warner Brothers cartoons, that was Saturday mornings.
Seriously, Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies, man, that was every Saturday. And it's so funny because you go on like YouTube now, you see like these 6-hour blocks. I'm like, when were they in my house taping my Saturday morning television blocks? Like, when did this become a thing? Like, why are you in my house for? YouTube got my shit. Because
I know our good buddy Stat Boy probably watches those religiously because the Looney Tunes were always his shit.
Yes, and prior to my overwhelming love affair that ended up becoming with Disney, which led me where I am, obviously, Bugs Bunny and the Roadrunner and Coyote and everybody in this image was part
Mr.
of
Space Leaf, Space
right?
Rockets.
I mean, God, the Jetsons,
Captain Caveman.
Yeah, the Jetsons was as much a part of my life as anything, So
Toucan Sam from Fruit Loops, Woody Woodpecker,
Dino from the Friends. I mean, again, the Hanna-Barbera and Warner Brothers worlds were so entrenched in my every weekend, viewings. And Mel Blanc, if you didn't hear Mel Blanc at any part of your Saturday mornings, you must have the TV muted.
Pretty much.
I mean, that's really what it came down to with Mel. So much so that when Mikey found out I was going to the Hollywood Forever Cemetery with Travis, I think it was last year, the year before, he made it a point, go see Mel. Go see Mel's plot. Okay. And I did, and I was glad I did it because
I've got a picture of Mel's plot.
Yeah, it's he's so iconic and he's done so much. And when you factor in my childhood watching these cartoons, when you factor in my first long term, job other than Blockbuster Video, which ages my dumb ass, was at Six Flags, where I was around. I heard his voice every single day of my life at that point, even in
Yeah.
going into adulthood.
If Magic Mountain were closer to Long Beach than where it is, I have no doubt Mikey would have tried to get a job there as opposed to Disney or Knott's.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt.
Just because of his love for the Warner Brothers.
Yeah, and I think with his frame, I think he would have actually done very well being one of the taller characters, because Foghorn Leghorn is a gigantic. I mean, you have to be a big person to be Foghorn Leghorn. There was so many things that were associated with my not Discovery, because I knew about Disney because of the clams. Like you said, the Disney shorts, the Mickey Mouse cartoons, and everything like that weren't a part of my everyday existence until many, many, many years in, because they weren't available every Saturday morning or every weeknight or whatever. So these guys were.
Exactly.
Mel Blanc was as part of a much part of childhood as me being a Mitchell Elementary School Eagle. Like it was just in my shit, because that's what was on television at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So Mel Blanc is definitely number one. With all respect to Jim, because God knows we love Jim Cummings, and yes, he was a part of so many things that I didn't even know about until talking with this guy for all these years. Nor did I realize his part in Lion King was what it was. I'm sure you'll go into that later. But man, Jim has been such a part of our jam lately, but Mel has always been part of me. So
that's fair.
That's why he's where he is. There you go. There's my 10. 10 plus, because I grouped and I copped out, whatever. But
it's okay. Like I said, I forgive you on the cheating, because the cheating made sense.
I appreciate you for that.
Much like how when we did the horror sequels and I grouped that little Frankenstein trilogy together because it was the Igor saga and you allowed that. It's like,
I mean,
it made sense to group it. So
yes. Yeah. And yes, as much as Walt was the original voice of Mickey, none of us that are alive, as far as in our friend circle, got to hear firsthand Walt as Mickey.
Exactly.
And with this generation, our kids will never get to hear firsthand Jimmy. Their kids will get to hear firsthand. Well, some of them heard. Well, actually, no, neither one of our kids specifically, but yeah. And then their kids won't get to hear Wayne firsthand or Brett firsthand or whatever. So it's very hard to pick just one voice of Mickey. And The Simpsons, God, there's so many damn people in Springfield. It's like, how do you pick one?
Yeah, for real.
Anyway, God help me, because I know I'm going to have a tremendous list, laid in front of me and go, man, I had to proceed that. And I'm going to feel inadequate, I'm sure. But anyway, carry on, my friend. Carry on, my wayward son. As we'll get to hear Wednesday.
And depending on the results of Wednesday's match, I may be crying.
But hopefully there'll be peace when we are done.
That's fair. All right, sir. So, hell of a list. I'm a try my darndest not to, follow that, tell you to follow that too hard with some of the stuff that I
please do though
bring up, because I mean, your list is solid. I'm not gonna lie. It's like we have only 2 that we share.
Wow. Okay.
Which impresses me, and some of the ones that I don't have that you had may really surprise you.
Yeah.
But what I tried to do with this list is I tried to be fair first and foremost to the men and the women.
Okay.
So half my list is men, half are women.
Okay.
So I have it split down the middle there. I also alternate. So female, male, female, male.
Okay.
And then I tried to really go back into my childhood.
Okay.
And I tried to think of, okay, what cartoons did I watch when I was younger? who were voices on these cartoons, who had voices in other things that kind of followed me throughout my life.
Right.
So that each one that I talk about is relevant to me in more than one voice.
Okay.
So that was the other thing that I really tried to do. And like I said, we only have 2 that we share.
Wow.
And they come in my top 5.
Okay.
You already alluded to what my number 1's going to be. So there's 1. So
I'm
you're just going to be sitting here kind of itching,
right.
waiting to see what the other one is.
Yes. Yes. I mean, like I said, I
So
didn't want to go too far down the rabbit hole with number 1 because I knew you would pontificate properly on that, man. So it is
so
what it is.
we're gonna kick things off here
Yes.
with my number 10
All right.
and female. I've seen her do live action movies, although she's definitely better known the world over as a voice actress.
Okay.
Amongst the many characters that she's done, I mean, E.G.
Oh,
Daily.
damn! I almost put Elizabeth too. Damn it! Oh man!
You've got Tommy from Rugrats. You've got Powerpuff Girls. Dottie from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Say, my Dottie, man.
You know, so some of the other stuff that's there, she was the voice of the singing voice, at least, of Barry from the Country Bears movie, which isn't pictured.
No,
But I mean,
I
I've
love
gotten to meet her in
yes,
person,
me too.
and she was such a sweetheart. And I remember going up to her with Mikey when we met her, and I was like, dude, do you even realize who this is? And I think at first when we walked up, because we were probably our 30s at the time, she probably didn't think that we really knew who she was, or at least that I really knew who she was.
Right.
She's probably looking at us like these 2 guys walking up to a hot chick trying to take a picture.
Right.
Because I mean, let's be fair, she is gorgeous.
Oh yeah, she's
But
a doll. I love her.
I'm like, do you even know who this is, Mikey? And he was like, kinda.
Oh God.
And I just was like, oh Jesus Christ, okay.
Damn it,
And I
Michael.
started rattling off the credits to her, and like you could see her eyes get bigger
Right?
at the fact that I legitimately knew who she was. And then when I broke out the Barry thing, like that kind of solidified it for her, because
Nice.
it's like,
Nice.
me and my Country Bears.
Of course.
So for me to be able to pull that credit out.
Yeah, I'm sure that tickled her in no small way at all, because you have to really know that to really pull that one out. Yeah, I didn't seek her out of the convention. She happened to be at the screening at the anniversary of Big Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So I met her and I met Diane the same night. So that was
Yes.
kind of a cool thing. The 2 main Pee-wee leads of all time, but both of them just absolute dolls in their own right. But man, I had EG. I was like, yeah, but
yeah,
Gee,
but
gee, I'll bring it up. Honorable mention. We'll do it that way. We'll do it that way. And it's cool. I'm glad you did, because I do adore EG. I always have, and she's such a wonderful person. So good call, sir. Good call.
So that's how we're starting my list off.
Right?
We've already embarrassed Jeff because he left her off the list.
Like I said, I kind of figured, but I didn't want to assume. Never assume anything on this show.
No, because what happens when you assume, Meacham?
You forget that Marty McFly should be a musical moment in a non-musical movie.
That's right.
That's right.
100%.
Without question.
And
Just
we're
like
still keeping that gimmick going, damn it.
Just like the fact that it's 100% fact without any question that Jeff Jarrett is a horseman. Right, Mikey T? Woo!
Damn right.
Ain't he great?
Fuck Aubrey Edwards for not making him tag champion.
Twice last week. Damn you, Aubrey.
But I'll forgive you if you take a picture with me at the forum on Wednesday.
That's right. And please forgive me, because we were so good on the cruise.
Getting back on track. Number 9 on my list, is only this low because I only really know him from a couple of different voices. despite his huge catalog.
Yes.
And he really only hits home to me with
Oh.
one of those characters.
All right.
Number 9 at my list is Peter Cullen.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
You know, Optimus Prime,
Right.
Eeyore. He was one of the voices of Monterey Jack. You know,
Yes.
Mario, he was a Beagle Boy. You know, he was the Incredible Hulk.
He was.
You know, but he was the Predator. But for me, when it comes to Peter, like despite the Transformer movies, it's Eeyore for me.
It is very much so. Yep.
You know, like I mentioned earlier, I never really watched Transformers in the 80s. That's why I didn't know about Casey Kasem. But I've seen all of the Transformer movies that have come out here recently in the last, the last 20 years.
Say recently, well,
like 15 years. Yeah, exactly. You know, recently as in not Transformers the movie, like the cartoon movie that came out in the 80s, but you know.
Recently as in we old, get over it. Recently is everything to us, damn it, so shut up.
So, you know, still getting to hear him as Optimus in
That was
those
cool.
reprising his role that he made famous all those years ago.
That was a nice touch.
Yeah, it's cool to hear him in that, but again, at the end of the day, for me, it comes down to Eeyore. And
absolutely, man.
As sad, as depressing as Eeyore can be, you know, to steal a phrase from my daughter, Eeyore can definitely be a mood every now and again. Like, because we all have those days where we just don't even feel like anybody notices us. Yep. So it's like, man, thanks for noticing me.
Right.
It's like, just thank you for paying me some semblance of attention today, because
so. That it's actually how I always remember his name, because I think of Eeyore and I think of Sullen Cullen. That's how my brain works. I'm sure he's not a sullen dude by any means, but you know, just that's how the brain pattern worked. Like Eeyore's voice, sullen. God, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, however you got to do it to remember stuff.
Because Lord knows my memory is what it is, kids.
Yes. So number 8 on my list is somebody who we lost a few years ago. She ties into E.G., who was my number 10. Oh. And she also ties very much so into my number 1. We're talking Christine Cavanaugh.
Oh.
The voice of Chucky from Rugrats, Gosselin Mallard, the original voice of Babe, Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory. I mean,
I can hear that voice of hers with that little squeak to it on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So adorable. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. Oh. And again, Chucky sounded very similar to Gosselin.
Yes.
Sounded very similar to Babe, but completely different franchises. So you knew they were never going to come together.
No.
So it was a little bit different than Sterling or Phil, who were doing all the same voices for the same company.
Right.
You know, so that when we did get House of Mouse down the road and, you know, Baloo and Little John are sitting at the table talking together, it's like, anyways.
It's like, that's an insider, haha, and some of us get it. Especially after Phil passed and it's like it wasn't the same guy. I was like, all right, it's still funny to us.
Right.
It's still real to me, damn it.
But I mean, Christine is one of those, like, specifically Chucky and obviously Gosselin.
Right. Oh, God.
Like, really meant a lot to me. Like the father-daughter relationship between Drake and Gosselin Mallard.
Oh my God.
Was just so good, to the point that when she passed, I used the image of DW and Gosselin from the premiere episode, the Taurus Bulba saga, where he was just kind of like laying his head on her bed and she was sleeping. It's like, that was my image for her when she passed.
Yeah.
It's like,
it was sad. It was messed up. It just so, again, we're going to do a show in a couple weeks about people dying way too young.
Yeah.
My goodness. My goodness.
All
Anyway,
right.
yeah.
Number seven was an interesting one for me to pull out and add to the list because at the end of the day, he's more known for his animal sounds than he really is for like dialogue.
Okay.
But he's done some very prominent characters as well where he actually has spoken dialogue on a regular, which is the only reason why he's as low as he is, because like I said, he's more known for the sounds.
Okay.
Number 7 is Frank Welker.
Oh wow, yeah.
I mean, you see right there, you got Slimer from Ghostbusters, you got Fred and Scooby, you've got Brain from Inspector Gadget, you've got Baby Kermit and Skeeter. You know, you've got a Beagle Boy, you've got so many characters thrown in there. Like, it's hard to keep track. He's the voice of the Cave of Wonders.
Yes.
He's the Pegasus from Hercules. He's Abu.
Yeah. Frank is definitely one of those. If you haven't heard Frank's voice, you haven't been watching cartoons.
Right?
Yeah.
And like I say, you look at all the characters here, you see how many of them are animals.
Right. And primarily like animal sounds, not, like you said.
Like I said, he's Curious George, for Christ's sakes.
Right, exactly. And George spoke very, very broken, if at anything. So
he's Raja from Aladdin. Like,
he did not speak exactly, nor Abu a little bit.
He chattered.
He chattered, yeah.
But like he's Raja, Abu, and the Cave of Wonders all in the same movie, and only one of those things does he really talk. The Cave of Wonders.
Can we brief sidebar how freaking stacked that original Aladdin movie was, voice wise? Let's just I mean, damn. Anyway.
But I mean, again, when it comes to Frank, it's like the Scooby Doos, So you got Fred and Scooby right there.
Yep.
And to my knowledge, he is still the voice of Scooby.
I think he is. Yeah.
You've got Baby Kermit and Baby Skeeter.
Which
hello, can we talk about me and my Muppets? Like, have y'all not figured out that I'm a Muppets geek?
Well, and not only that,
Aladdin is my prince and my princess.
Yep. Yeah, with the Muppets, I first discovered the Muppets with Muppet Babies.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, the first live action Muppets I saw was Muppet Family Christmas, but Muppet Babies I was on when I was literally when I was a baby. So man, Muppet Babies was how I first saw them. So yeah, Baby Kermit, Baby Skeeter, it's like, yep, that's right here for me. But yeah.
And if I'm remembering correctly, once because he didn't do Baby Skeeter for long, or he was a takeover voice, because I know Howie Mandel did Baby Skeeter for a while also.
Yes, that's right. He did.
Because if you think about it, Baby Skeeter and Bobby from Bobby's World sound a hell of a lot alike.
They sound very much the same. Yes, they're trying to run a hill somewhere. Yeah, By the way, Bobby's World, give that a little love. But I
don't think of Howie really as a voice actor, which is why he didn't make my list. But honorable mention for me there, because I did watch, obviously, again, Muppet Babies, and I enjoyed Bobby's World. That shit was good.
Bobby's World was good. I'm pretty sure Howie was the second voice of Baby Skeeter, because I think he took over for Frank later, but I could be wrong on that. But I'm pretty sure that's an accurate statement you said there.
All right, so we're almost at my halfway point, number 6.
Yes.
And, this one's going to hit home for you.
Uh-oh.
You had the counterpart to this.
Oh.
As your number 10.
Oh, no. Oh, let's see. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh.
You had Wayne.
Yeah.
I've got Rissy.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you've got Minnie, you've got Strawberry Shortcake, you've got Baby Gonzo, you've got Huey, Dewey, Louie, and Webby, you've got Sherry and Terry, you've got, Simpsons, you've got Baby Pebbles.
Yeah, I forgot that Russi was on Simpsons until I was doing my research for the Simpsons graphic I was making. I was like, oh, I forgot she was on that one too.
I mean, I think it would be easier for me to point out the images on this that I don't know from my childhood than to sit here continue to go over the ones that are my childhood. We think of Russi and we think of Minnie. especially since she was married to Wayne, who was Mickey.
Yeah,
You know,
you
you
just
want to
think,
talk about a Disney Cinderella story? Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse were married in real life.
yeah,
But whereas Wayne was predominantly just Mickey,
yes,
Rusey had this whole other career.
very prolific, very prolific.
And I don't think she gets the credit she deserves, which is why she made my list instead of Wayne.
Right.
And she's only where she is because amongst the females, once you see my other two, I
Right.
think you'll understand why she was essentially number 3 for the women.
Yeah, it's one of those. You and I will always think of Russi as Minnie because of just the connection to the mouse, but she has a prolific filmography
Mm-hmm.
without doubt, and she's one of the many that were part of maybe not my childhood, but definitely my Disney fandom that I will regret going to that next phase of existence not having met her
Mm-hmm.
in this plane of existence, because she was, from all accounts, she was wonderful, and she was just a absolute doll to be around, and definitely was the perfect voice of Minnie Mouse, because Minnie is just that sweet, endearing hostess character that we all, obviously we all at the parks love and cherish as our hostess because that's who she is.
Yes.
But yeah, Russi was wonderful, and I'm definitely glad you included her, because I knew I wouldn't, because there's just been so many other voices for me in my lifetime, but definitely deserves an honorable mention, more than honored mention, without question.
There you go. So now going over to the other side of my list. The
Yes.
next male that is going to be represented has definitely had his hands in quite a few cookie jars.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, he's a voice from a Disney afternoon show that I loved as a child. He was one half of the Warner Brothers, along with their Warner sister Dot.
Uh-oh.
He is Rob Paulson.
Rob Paul's another name, an honorable mention for me, for sure. I love Rob.
I mean, you got Yakko Warner there, you got Pinky, you've got Steelbeak, you've got Raphael from the 80s Ninja Turtles,
That's
the
right.
good
The
Ninja
good
Turtles,
Ninja Turtles,
damn it.
That's right.
Not this bullshit that's airing these days on Nickelodeon or whatever fucking channel has the Ninja Turtles now.
Some streaming nonsense.
He's from the Ninja Turtles that had Uncle Phil as the Shredder, god
That's
damn it.
right. That's right.
But I mean, dude, like, you just look at those 3 things right there, you know, and you
Yep.
kind of forget the other images. You know, like I say, he is Yakko and Pinky.
Yeah.
He is Steelbeak for Disney,
Yep.
and he's a Ninja Turtle, god damn it.
Yeah.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg with Rob Paulson. Like he is another one of those quote unquote Renaissance men who
Yes.
has gotten around so much.
Yeah.
You know, he is a modern one of those. If you don't know his voice, you ain't watched cartoons.
Yeah. There, and seriously, we all, whether we'll admit it to our parents or not, we're Animaniacs fans, damn it. So
Oh,
I
I
mean
love it. I was more Team Wacko than Team Yakko because being who I am and how I was raised, I always thought Wacko kind of sounded like George from the Beatles.
yeah, I'll agree with that.
Like he had that faux British accent going to him. It was like, the hell? Like it's a Beatle?
It's like, George, you legit British. You sound like you putting on. What's wrong with you? Wacko was
Yeah,
the same
like,
way.
but Wacko was always so hilarious to me.
Yes.
But Yakko was the key that held everything down. Like he was the sane in the insanity.
I was gonna say he was the same one, if you can call any one of the 3 of those knuckleheads sane. But yeah, and again, Brain from Pinky and the Brain. It's like, man, as awesome as
He goes from being the sanity of the Warner Brothers and sister to being the insane in that one. Although supposedly there's a rumor that Pinky was actually the smartest one of the 2.
Right. Yeah, and just completely. I mean, those two, the Warner Brothers, the Warner trio, definitely anchored the show. But man, those three, and then Pinky and the Brain, that was the crux, the heart of that show. So Rob
Mhm.
Paulson, again, very much a major part of our definitely our late childhood, early teens.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So number 4 is going to be the other one we share.
Oh, and it's a
And
female because
it
it's female.
is.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
Tara Strong.
Oh, again, look at all these characters. Jesus, that's even more perfect than mine was. Oh, I love Tara. I
I
do.
mean, I'm not going to get too in depth with her because I feel like we covered her pretty well when you
Yep.
discussed her. But yeah, I mean, Tara Strong, how can you not give her the credit she deserves as a modern voice actress? And you figure, you look at everything she's done, there's only one female that I determined to be better than her. That
Yeah.
says a lot about where I hold Tara Strong as far as her acting ability in her career.
And I'd forgotten when I brought her up earlier. She had to come on to Rugrats to play Dill with E.G. Daily already on there, man. That's voice power, man. The two of them together, and
E.g., Christine, and Tara.
yeah, exactly. I mean, the fact that all three of them are on this list, and the fact that I didn't even bring up the word Rugrats in I mean, Rugrats before people really clued into it. Nicktoons was awesome, man. You had Rugrats, you had Doug, you had all those shows going on, and it
Mhm.
was just kind of like, yeah, they were good. I'll even say they were great, but they're so not forgotten now, but they're definitely glossed over when you compare it
Yes.
to the Warner folks and the Disney folks, and they're just kind of there, and that's a damn
Hmm.
shame.
Agreed. All right. So we already know who my number 1 is. But if my number 1 wasn't who he was going to be, y'all would like seriously be like, what the fuck, Renegade, for real?
Yeah, yeah, you a lie.
So my number 2 then for the guys, like,
Yeah,
in anybody else's list, could have made a serious claim for number 1,
right,
alongside your choice of Mel Blanc.
right.
We gave this man quite a bit of props in December.
Yes, which is
Paul
why he didn't make my
Frees.
yeah, which is why he didn't make my list now, because I knew, much like Jim, Paul would be here with you, and we would definitely get to talk about him together. So
But I mean, you just the first 4 images there. You've got
yes,
George Harrison and John Lennon from the cartoons. You've got the traffic cop from Frosty and Boris Badenoch from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
yep,
Then you go underneath George and you got Professor Ludwig von Drake. You know, then you go down to the gorilla, which forgive me for not remembering his name, but you go next to him and you have the Santa Claus from Frosty the Snowman.
it isn't Miguel the girl, is it?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I think
but
it might be one from George the Jungle.
oh yeah, yeah,
Looking
yeah,
at
yeah,
the
yeah.
animation there.
Right.
Then you go down to the bottom row and you got Sprout from the Jolly Green Giant. You got the Pillsbury Doughboy. You got Boo Berry. You got the Thing from the Fantastic Four cartoons. You got Toucan Sam again.
Jerry
This
from Tom and
man,
Jerry there to the left. It's
this man again is just then you factor in the theme park stuff, which is a huge part of our history. As we mentioned, he's the original ghost host. He's the auctioneer pirate in Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm not sponging for rum. It be gold I'm after.
right. Mel Blanc
We want
himself,
the redhead.
yeah,
Even though
Mel
now
Blanc
she's
him.
one of the auctioneers and she's not up for grabs, but it is what it is.
That's okay. She's still auctioning off the rum, and she's okay for it. Because
But
the rum's
Paul
always gone.
Frees,
The rum's always gone because either Jack's on the ride or Jeff's going through the ride, one or the other. So,
but Paul Frees is another one of those where, like I say, for most people, Mel Blanc and Paul Frees, easy 1 and 2. It's just
yeah,
a matter of what side of the bed you wake up on that morning.
Yeah.
You know, my number one is going to be my number one, and I'll get into reasons for why he's my number one in a moment once we get past my number two. But
Yes.
I could not do this list
No.
and not give props to Paul Frees. And the fact that I was able to find an image with the two Beatles that he did also, I just had to make sure I use that one because that is a forgotten thing that he did.
Hell yes.
If you're not me and my dad, that is some forgotten voiceover work because when it came to the Beatles cartoons, one guy did John and George, one guy did Paul and Ringo. And then there were additional voices for the other characters in the cartoons.
Yep.
And the guy that did Paul and Ringo was old Fred in Yellow Submarine.
Right, exactly.
So, you know,
it's all synergy, baby. And I will say, Mel Blanc himself called Paul Frees the man of 1,000 voices, and it's like, Mel, thank you, but hang on a second.
And if you look at that image, it's not hard to see why.
No.
But if Mel Blanc and Paul Frees are the men of 1,000 voices,
who is the woman?
If Tara Strong is only my number two woman, June Foray.
Of course, it's June. God, okay. Here's my Marty McFly moment again. There we go. Wow.
I mean, again, you look at the image there, Granny from Looney Tunes, Mulan's grandma, Witch Hazel. You've got the fake Jessica Rabbit from Toontown in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You've got Cindy Lou Who. You've got Rocky the Flying Squirrel. You've got Natasha. You've got Lucifer. You've got freaking what's the girl's name from Frosty? I'm blanking on it right now.
Karen.
Thank you. Yeah, that's probably why I forgot it.
Yeah, you know.
You got Karen. You've got Magica Dispel.
Right.
And the mother of the Beagle Boys. Like, you've
Daddy
got
Rubble.
So much shit here.
Yep.
June Foray is arguably the woman of 1,000 voices. And I remember the first year I went to D23. Mikey and I were there and we're walking by and she had a booth there. And I had seen her. I had talked to her for a minute. And Mikey was coming down the aisle. I dashed to Mikey. I was like, bro, you've got to come with me. And we walked up and I kind of planted him at her booth for a moment. And he was like, who's this? And I almost in public bitch slapped him. I'm like, dude, it's Granny from Sylvester Tweety. Like for real. How much do you love Sylvester? It is June fucking Foray, bro. For real.
God.
And once he had his moment, I left and he like engaged in conversation with her for like 30 minutes. It was so awesome.
Yeah,
it's like,
you know, ones I wish
but it was one of those Mikey being Mikey moments, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's two things to say before we get to the number one. I know we're gonna get into that one big time. D23 will always be kind of the hit and miss thing for me. Big miss because June wasn't there the one year I got to go with you guys. And of course, the one year I did get to go with you guys, Mikey didn't go, so we had Bill call him anyway, and that's a whole other story I've told 100 times, so we'll just let that one get along. And
yes. We'll make like Elsa and let it go.
Now it's $100 to make that shit happen, but anyway, per person. Yes. Bill and Brett help a broke brother out. Even though I'm broke, I'm still a fellow cast member.
Anyway. Yeah, I was gonna say you work for the company, damn it.
Work for the company, help a brother out. Anyway.
So
all right, here we go.
Jeff very quickly glossed over this gentleman so that he could give me the opportunity to wax proxy on him, because number one for me is Jim Cummings.
Yeah, baby.
And I mean, this man right here is my childhood.
Right.
You know, he is currently Winnie the Pooh and Tigger. He's King Triton. He's Yosemite Sam. He took over for Jeremy Irons in the finale of Be Prepared. He's also Ed the Hyena from The Lion King. He's currently Ka. He's currently King Louis. He's Thor, Natalie. That's right. He is now Thor. He did some voice work as Shredder. He was Leatherhead in the Ninja Turtles cartoon, which sounds a hell of a lot like Ray the Firefly.
Yeah, a little bit.
He is Pete. He is Thanos.
Yes.
And yes, he is the terror that flaps in the night.
Yes.
He is the potato chip that will never go stale.
That's right.
He is Darkwing Duck.
That's right.
He's Don Carnage. You know, this man, going back to Dumbo's Circus, which we talked about briefly on the Disney show that Teresa was on.
Yes.
And his role on there, ever since that point, Jim has been a constant in my life.
Yeah. Part of the family.
So there could only be one number one for me.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Which is why Jeff did what he did.
Yes.
Jim Cummings is on my list.
I mean, it's one of those. Jim is such a part of all of us. You know, our team, our extended family, the company. I mean, he's pretty much got a lifetime contract at this point with Walt Disney Company.
Pretty much. I mean,
Nimble Circus on. He's been part of us.
He's one of the Sultan's guards in Aladdin, which sounds a hell of a lot like Pete. So when you hear the guard that sounds like Pete, that's Jim Cummings.
Yeah, it's again.
I mean, he does recycle some of his voices if it makes sense. Like I said, those two sound alike. Ray the Firefly sounds like Leatherhead the Gator from the Ninja Turtles cartoons. They're both supposed to be Southern Cajun. It makes sense for him to recycle that voice.
Exactly.
But you're not going to see Leatherhead the Gator and Ray the Firefly do some stuff together. Different universes.
Different universes completely. So, you know, it's...
But I mean, it's me waxing proxy on Jim Cummings and Jeff just letting it go. It is like me letting Hulk Hogan go for Jeff to wax proxy on Hit. Like if I sat here and tried to wax proxy on Hulk Hogan and Jeff just saying every fucking thing I wanted to say, God damn him.
Right.
But then it gets to his list and he's like, I was going to talk about my favorite of all time, Hulk fucking Hogan, but Jay did all that shit, so we're just going to move on now.
That's really what it is.
That's basically what it comes down to with this. Like I told him on the phone yesterday as we're filming this a couple days ago on air date.
Right.
I'm like, look, bro, you know this guy is going to be on my list. It's like you can either leave him off or you can just kind of gloss over him quickly and leave him for me. But you know he's going to be on my list.
Yeah.
And so that's why he did what he did. But like it's one of those things, and I've said this, and I'm gonna say it on air here. I have said this for probably at least the last decade. Don't try talking to me when his time comes. I'm going to be a fucking mess. That is how much Jim Cummings has meant to me in my life.
Yep.
Period, point blank.
Yeah. It's much the same with Hogan. You know, you mentioned the Hogan comparison. Inconsolable when it happens. No way around it. Wow, I went Elmer Fudd there, who we didn't mention earlier. But yeah. But yeah, and it's one of those. Yes, I've been aware of Jim for a long time, longer than I realized. You know, for a while, but you know, he is. You know, Jim is such a part of so many different things, and not just in Disney, that every single one of us that is a fan of animated television shows, animated film, voiceover work, anything, we've grown up with Jim Cummings. And if you say you haven't, you will lie. You a flat out liar. Flat,
especially if you've grown up in this generation.
Yep.
My daughter has grown up with Jim
yeah,
because of Pete on Mickey's Mouse Clubhouse, because
Yes.
of Pooh and Tigger on My Friends Tigger and Pooh,
Yes.
because of Ray the Firefly, and so many of his other modern Disney voices.
Yes.
You know, generations before that, Cece's oldest has grown up with him.
Yep.
We have grown up with him. He is just, again, he's one of those Renaissance men that has been around pretty much since our formidable existence.
Yes, exactly.
You figure I was 9-ish when Dumbo Circus began airing.
Right.
So while I still wasn't into the whole trying to eat up who voices were yet, that wouldn't come until the mid 90s for me.
Right.
He was an integral part of that inception.
Exactly.
You were a little bit young. You were like 2 years old when Dumbo Circus started airing. And if you tried watching that at 2 years old, the character actors probably would have frightened you, if we're being honest.
I mean, that's fair.
But, you know, coming into figure about 9 years old for you, now you're getting into the Disney Afternoon, and Darkwing Duck is
Especially
premiering, and Tailspin, and Monterey Jack on Rescue Rangers, and he's bonkers, and he's, you know, all these voices. He's Pete again on Goof Troop.
Yep.
Yeah, he's doing at least one voice in every major Disney Afternoon show.
Yep.
From at least Rescue Rangers on.
There is no greater example for me to spell out for the longtime viewers of the great and powerful Jeff Meacham to understand than this. Jim's part of our lives so much that Mickey Mouse has not been Mickey Mouse since JJ and I became best friends. He's been Mickey Mouse.
Because that's what Pete says.
Because that's what Pete says on Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and that's Jim Cummings' voice. He only became Mickey Mouse or the boss more recently for obvious reasons. But most of our nearly 20-year friendship, it's been Mickey Mouse.
Mm-hmm.
And that's solely because of Jim Cummings. So there you go. He is a part of our very fabric of existence.
That's my number one. So,
and as I knew he would be. So there you go. I dig it.
So not bad. 18 different people.
Yeah, when you figure it's 18
and you know what? I expected there to be more similarities.
I did too. That's why I was pushing for a consensus list. But man, I'm glad we didn't.
Yeah, because if any of these people had not gotten their flowers, as the kids these days say,
right,
it would have been a crime.
Yeah, we would bet our damn selves if we had to mention every one of these people. So I'm glad we did it.
Yes, and I knew yours was going to be more classic, if you will.
Yeah, of course.
So that's why I left Mel off the list. The one that surprised me that you had was Tara. I figured that she wouldn't have her, and that would give us 19.
Yeah,
but
Tara,
you know, it is what it is. It was good though.
I mean, it really came down to Tara and EG for me. It really did, and I should have done both because I love Elizabeth. I always will, but Tara for me got made the list for one simple reason. I clamored, I yearned for years to have a broadcast version, presentation, whatever you want to call it, The Killing Joke. And they finally did it, and she was part of that.
There you go.
She was Batgirl, so I was like, all right, there it is. Boom. And I was so happy they finally did that. And they brought Kevin back for that. And they brought Mark back for that. So I was like, all right.
I'm surprised neither of us had Kevin or Mark. Especially knowing how much you have kind of gone the way of the Joker.
Yes. And again, they both honorable mention. Of course, Kevin just passed us last year, which was sucks.
Yeah.
We didn't mention him a whole lot on the year-end show because I just couldn't. It's so hard for me to talk about now because Kevin was such a part of my childhood, especially with the Batman series. And again, Mark will always be Luke first and foremost. I'm not even going to try to bullshit around that.
True.
But he, as much as the 1989 me will want to kick me in the groin for this, he is the Joker. Mark Hamill's the fucking Joker. And as much as the younger version of me watching the 60s series and reruns will also want to kick me in the groin for this, Mark Hamill's the Joker. So
I
I know.
respectfully disagree, mainly because I never was caught up in the Batman the Animated Series.
No, I
I
know.
just never got into it, which is why Kevin is not my Batman,
Right.
which is why Mark is not my Joker. I take nothing away from either one of them.
No,
They
no, no.
both kill it in their roles, and the stuff I have seen them do it, they are amazing.
Yes.
That just wasn't a part of my life at that time.
Right. It wasn't you had to get home and see that when it aired right away
No.
because it was you figure you were well into your teens by the time that started airing. So it was different for you than it was for me.
Yeah.
And plus, I was such a major 60s television series fan watching it in reruns that the first two movies were everything for me. And I knew that
Agreed.
granted, while you were a fan of the movies, and we've talked about that, the animated series was so based on the idea that the movies were a success and the darker Batman could work, even amalgamated a bit to be a more child-friendly animated series. And even then, that series got dark a lot.
Yeah.
But Kevin and Mark definitely made that series as Kevin, of course, more so because he was on every show. But anyway, they weren't on my list because, again, I think of the other people I mentioned more because Kevin was primarily Batman and Bruce Wayne and not a whole lot of outside ventures. Same with Mark.
Yeah.
Other than Luke Skywalker and the Joker, he's done a lot of great stuff. I'm not going to try to sell Mark's career short because that would be exactly what everybody else in the freaking world has done to Mark Hamill. But I think of Star Wars when I think of Luke Sky. When I think of Mark, see, I did it again when I think of Mark Hamill. But anyway,
I mean, that's what made the role of Cockknocker and Jane Silent Bob Strike Back so great because it was Mark Hamill and it was a cross between Luke Skywalker and the Joker.
Yes, exactly. So good. So good. And again,
that is our lists.
Yes.
Who did we leave out?
Right?
We
tried.
As always, our picks are subjective. But who did we leave out that you feel deserved their flowers and we didn't give them to them? Let us know if you're watching the premiere. Leave your thoughts and comments over there next to Meacham. If you're watching on demand, leave your thoughts and comments down here underneath the ticker. We are definitely curious to know who you feel we ignored.
Yes. Who do we not acknowledge Roman Reigns style?
And try to keep in mind, at least like I said, my criteria was they had to be more than like a single voice.
Yes.
Like how Jeff mentioned the whole Mickey Mouse crew as a collective.
Right.
Those gentlemen were all pretty much known just for being Mickey Mouse.
Yes.
Their voices had to be, at least most of the time, different. Which is why, like I said, there was no Sterling Holloway, there was no Phil Harris. As much as I love and respect those gentlemen.
Yes. Agreed.
So, who did we forget? Let us know.
Definitely looking forward to the responses, but also looking forward to, Jay?
I think you're looking forward to tomorrow, Jeff.
I'm looking forward to the rest of the week, but definitely Wednesday, but we'll get there momentarily. Tomorrow,
because your shtick, if we're gonna, Walter here, hashtag stick to my shtick. Yes. Your shtick is always that you're looking forward to what's next.
Always.
What's next is tomorrow.
And tomorrow,
what's tomorrow, Jeff?
Now, so tomorrow I usually follow NXT without actually covering NXT because I usually don't have a whole lot of people that want to cover NXT live, but we do tomorrow. Our next watch along on the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse of Media will be at 8 o'clock, 7 Central on USA if you're going to watch it on TV with us. New Year's Evil, presented by not Noah's NXT, although Noah will be on commentary for this. I'm so ecstatic for this. I'm happy. We're hoping that either James will be available or we can try to get myself or JG a East Coast feed because we have to wait till 8 o'clock to watch this shit out here. So 8 o'clock Pacific time. Whoever it will be, and if it's Noah pulling in at Wrestle Kingdom and doing it by himself, then it will be what it'll be. But either way, we'll be covering NXT New Year's Evil tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, 7 Central, to be immediately followed by the first live talk wrestling of 2023. And as I have pointed out, and we've now confirmed, JJ and I, prior to starting this taping today, it will be live from the Casa de Casa. Because we'll be from the living room of the Constantine Studios in beautiful Victorville, California. Hopefully watching NXT as it unfolds. If not, we'll watch it after we're done with Talk Wrestling. One or the other. We'll figure it out. In any event, we'll be doing that tomorrow. And then, do you want to talk about Wednesday now? You want to say, we'll talk about this Wednesday because 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific, the Greg Cherry Show featuring, I believe, Maddie Laws in the co-host seat because the dads, not always on wrestling, are going to be a little busy Wednesday night. We will be live from the fabulous Forum in Inglewood, California, covering both Dynamite and Rampage, as both are going to be taped this Wednesday. Man, AEW is serving up all the things for us, are they not, JJ?
Absolutely, man. I am so looking forward to this show. You know, the things I'm looking forward to the most is Bryan Danielson and Konosuke Takeshita.
Oh, man. Right.
And then seeing the JAS come out and being able to have a Judas moment.
You know, I talked about it on the coverage we did on Friday. Chris took my moment away from me, the son of a bitch, in June when he came out and cut the music off. But he's been embracing the Judas love again in the JAS era. So hopefully he won't cut it off again.
Yeah,
because there will be a scene made. I swear to God, there will be. I'm not due for a conniption anyway. But man,
I mean, honestly, the rest of the card, if I'm being blunt, I could take or leave.
Really? Okay.
You know, I mean, okay, I've got nothing against Jamie Hayter or Dr. Britt Baker. Hold on. DMD. But I still feel that Jamie's the wrong champion right now. I am a hater of Hayter.
Oh.
I feel like Tony should still have the belt.
That's fair. That's fair.
I am looking forward to seeing Saraya.
Yes.
I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this match. Is it still going to be Tony? Right. Is it going to be the debuting Monet?
Yeah, are we gonna see a little Monet being made up in Inglewood?
You know, for Moxley and Adam Page, like I'm kind of looking forward to seeing Mox.
Absolutely.
Page, I kind of good on ever since the whole drama with him last year.
Right, yeah, I know.
You know, same with the Elite.
I was gonna say,
it's like it's match 7 of the series, which we knew it was going to go to match 7 anyways. Every single one of these competitors has some form of root in Southern California, whether birth, living there, or kind of helped to make their names out there. You know, you figure the Lucha Brothers have their store in Pasadena. Yep. The Bastard Pack used to be the man that Gravity forgot in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Kenny Omega won the Bola tournament.
Yep, and the championship.
Championship in that tournament. The Bucks are the Bucks are the Bucks.
Yes.
So, you know, it's one of those things. But again, with the whole drama with the Elite and Punk, kind of over them right now.
I agree.
Big Bill Lee Moriarty versus Jungle Hook. Slightly interested in.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Still very much unfamiliar with Cass, Big Bill, whatever you want to call him.
Yes.
No knowledge of Lee Moriarty, really, aside from what I've seen on my TV screens, because those two really had their come up during my absenteeism from the wrestling business.
Yes.
Jungle Hook, Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, and the son of the Oompa Loompa. I've been able to see their come up and their ascension a little bit on AEW.
Yes.
I am looking forward to seeing Jack Perry in action.
Absolutely.
You know, especially having been a huge 90210 fanatic and fan of the Dylan McKay character. So,
well, there you go. We got to meet Dylan McKay's father in person. Now we get to meet now we get to see his son live in action. So there you go.
There you go.
It works out for them.
You
And
know,
if you know,
Eddie
you know.
Kingston, we all
Yeah.
know my feelings on Eddie Kingston.
Right.
Neither
Yeah.
one of us have been quiet about that.
No. But I
The
I
rest
am
of it,
interested.
the rest of that match, kind of, you know.
I'm definitely curious to see Malachi because I haven't seen him since he left WWE, so it'll be cool to see him in action.
And then again, Ty Mello. I have not been quiet on my feelings of Ty Mello, especially
Yeah.
with her Sammy Guevara.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you know, I'm not her biggest fan.
No.
Anna JAS.
I love Anna.
Okay. I,
Yeah, I
I
love
can I can take her, leave her. I definitely like her better than I do Ty Mello,
well,
but
right.
that's not saying much right now. I am looking forward to seeing Ruby and Willow.
Yes.
Hopefully I'll get to see that bitch Jade Cargill in action.
You we'll see.
At least she's got to come to the ring and do something promo wise with everything going on recently with her and her baddies.
Yes.
Her baddie clique is falling apart.
Yes. And
which
that's
can only lead to her finally being dethroned.
you would think so.
By who? Don't know. Maybe it'll be a Monet move, if you will.
If it's not going to be Chris, I'd be okay with that. I really would, because Chris Statlander, God, snake bit on that. But yeah, all that you just saw was just what's announced so far as of this taping Saturday more afternoon.
Yeah, there's still obviously going to be more stuff announced over the few days.
Yes.
We're also going to get to see Dark Elevation.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe here, and I'm looking forward to it because it'll be my first wrestling show from a major company since SummerSlam 2012.
Yeah, because you've never seen AEW in person. You haven't seen WWE, like you said, in person in 10 years. So that's...
And the only wrestling show that I've gone to within those 10 years was the one that was in Pomona where me and Mikey went and saw our buddy Gino Told You So Rivera, along with Crime Time before Shad's tragic accident, Billy Gunn, Mark Henry before he became All Elite. So it's like, I've seen quite a few of the AEW guys, saw Daddy Ass, saw Mark Henry before he started saying it was time for the main event. But it's just been a minute, so I'm really looking forward to this.
Exactly. AEW was such a special thing for me to get to go to. It was at the Forum. It was a wonderful opportunity to see so many friends from the past, get to see so many people I had, worked with all those years ago and, had been a part of the Jericho Cruise with. So looking forward to it.
And it will be covered across the multiverse of media.
I was going to say, Noah and James will be on the call, and we will, with Wi-Fi and technology permitting, we will be sprinkling calls into the studio occasionally during the course of the show. So, unfortunately,
you might see me on the air during Eddie Kingston's match.
And that's more than fair.
Go take a Jordan Nolan in the Forum and just pipe in there for a moment.
Well,
and if you understand that reference, which I'm pretty sure he's the only one that gets that joke, then great.
Fudge. The only thing about going to Eddie's matches is we won't be live on the air because it'll be during Rampage. So they'll be that. But in any event, please check out our coverage of that. And
that's Friday, not the last of the coverage that we're going to have this week.
Nay. We've got 3 watch-alongs this week, folks. We are just going to – we're going to hit you hard, hit you fast in January, baby, because Friday, like the company –
Friday is fully loaded, if you will, because I don't think you know about the other part of this, but we'll get into the advertisement.
Yes, hard to kill, much like the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse of Media. Impact Wrestling's been hard to kill. Hell, they're 22 years and counting, and they still haven't died yet. So, but man, I'll tell you what. Noah said it the other night during our Friday coverage. I tend to agree. Mickie James and Jordynne Grace is the match for me. I am looking forward to, if we're being real, what will very likely be Mickey's last rodeo. We were watching, all the time when Mickey first came up to the main WWE roster. We were watching TNA frequently when she was Alexis Lurie as part of the Gathering. So we've literally grown into our fandom when Mickey James has grown into her career in wrestling. So being a part of that, whether I'm on the call, whether I'm producing the show, wherever the case will be so special for me. And I can't wait to see it. I won't be part of a Muck Night Saturday, but I know you guys are looking at it, have the anniversary show. So,
and in addition to that,
yes,
as soon as Hard to Kill goes off the air, we are going to our DVRs, we are pressing play, and we are calling Rampage along with it.
Oh, well, cool.
Because very by cool. That point, we'll be home and we can offer third-party commentary along with James and Noah providing the play-by-play and the color.
Inside information. Yeah, I like it. I dig it. I dig it the most.
Something I talked to them about going back prior to the Wrestle Kingdom broadcast.
Good shit. Very cool.
Because, I mean, I figure, yes, it's going to compete with the Hard to Kill broadcast. Right. So we can't do it simultaneously as it airs.
No.
But all of us are AEW fans.
Yes.
And as soon as Hard to Kill is done, we're going to hit the button on our remotes and continue the coverage, providing the commentary for AEW Rampage. So, and we'll make sure we stress this throughout the week on our mini broadcasts.
Yes.
We politely request from all of our viewers who may be turning into Hard to Kill, please do not post Rampage spoilers in the chat room while the commentary is being done. We'll already know what happened. We were there. So it's not going to be spoiled to us. No. But we want to have genuine reactions from James and Noah on the call as the matches are happening.
Because Noah doesn't do spoilers.
No spoilers.
Yeah, Noah makes it a very definitive point to not do spoilers.
He doesn't even read the wrestling news during the course of the week so that he can be completely surprised by what we discuss on open mic night.
Exactly.
Again, as you mentioned, open mic night, Saturday night, it will be our 1-year anniversary for open mic night.
Crazy
in
shit.
The format that it is known for today.
Right.
You know, it's a trip that we're there, you know.
It's crazy. And as much as I'm bummed I'm not going to be part of it, I'll definitely be able to watch on demand the next day, you know, either going to or coming back from work. But man, you yourself, you can't help yourself but be busy because you've got your own Renegades reviews continuing your monthly musicals, sir.
Absolutely. Prior to this airing, I covered Across the Universe, so make sure you go back and you check that out if you did not see it air when it did.
Flick.
Wednesday, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Dolly Parton and Burt Reynolds. Friday, we've got Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga in A Star Is Born, which, if I'm being honest, I did not think I was going to like that when I first saw it, and I loved it.
Same.
You know, it's one of those things for me, and I'll get more in depth in this on my review. When Gaga isn't being Gaga, the gimmick, and she's just being herself, yes, I find her a lot more tolerable.
I agree.
And then new release Saturday, Babylon. It's all-star cast. I mean, you see Margot Robbie in the image there. I forget who else is in it, but it is a star-studded affair.
It's amazing how much this coming week, including Across the Universe today, ties into both this show and our respective fandoms. Put that back up again one more time, if I may be so bold. Our lives. Across the Universe, Beatles, that's all you. That's all you and your family. Best Little Whorehouse in Texas features Mikey's Boss. Star Is Born, Lady Gaga, for most of our time together on air, we've kind of lampooned Lady Gaga on her shenanigans. And then Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn. So,
and you've, like I say, you've got Bradley Cooper there opposite her. That's Rocket Raccoon, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, there's there's enough to tie it into, they call it the island of relevancy on the bloodline, man. There's so much relevancy within these movies that have nothing to do with these movies. Check this shit out. Give the man a watch. Give the man a like. Give the man a subscribe over on the, see if I can do this right, Constantine Studios channel, because got to get that view count a bumping even higher, friends, because we got to hit that 4K.
Yes. And we would be remiss. We would be remiss to not shill for the other boss.
Yes, NoDQ.com. Of course, the NoDQ review was this last Sunday, the second one of the year. I was not on that one because I was making that mouse money. I might be on this weekend, though. We'll see. And, of course, you can catch Aaron's recaps of Raw, SmackDown, and Dynamite. They have changed format, obviously. They're now just not straight recaps. He actually ranks the segments and matches in order from worst to best and rattles them off in that order. Not just the first segment was, I give it this grade. The second segment, he has improved his presentation so quickly, so exponentially that I give Aaron mad. Again, he's the chameleon, man. He adapts to what works. He's seen what works out there in the YouTube verse. Sees that a ranking show tends to do very well. Does his thing, brother. So good for Aaron. Looking forward to his thoughts on Dynamite this week, because we may have to get in firsthand account. We may just have to go ahead and do that for him too, because damn it, we're a given bunch here on the Dads.
Not always on wrestling.
That's right. And our next show will be another major gift to the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse of Media, because it'll be the first wrestling-centric show of 2023. As a matter of fact, the logo of the show we're going to be covering is very similar, almost as if it was adapted from the Royal Rumble graphics of old, because our next show, January 23rd, in the same time slot, 3 p.m. Pacific, will be the top 10 biggest Royal Rumble surprises.
Yes.
And man, learning that the Rumble is also your favorite show and your favorite match, much like it's Greg's, has been so cool for me, because I love you both so much. And the surprises at the Rumble have always been so, it's one of the things you look forward to when the year kicks off. It's like, shit, here we go. It's time for the Rumble. Who are we going to see?
Absolutely. As of this filming, I've gotten through the 97, 98, 99 Rumble.
No shit, really? 98.
It's like I went online to really try to figure out and pinpoint when the beginning of the surprise entrances was.
Right.
And everything I could find on research was 97 because of the AAA partnership.
Yes.
So that's where I decided to start.
Yes.
So I've gone through 97, gone through 98, gone through 99. Now to hit the turn of the new millennium, which will feature the Rumble debut of the Millennium Man, the Y2J problem.
Yes.
And just starting to go through all those. And I've still got, you figure once we get to 2018, then I got 2 Rumble matches each year. And some of those women's ones are just as fully loaded as the men's.
Yeah.
Because you think about all the women that had come before the current crop who had been retired that made it a point to come out for that match.
Yeah. Both announced and surprises, which made it awesome. I will say that it's weird to even say this out loud right now. The first real surprise that I really think of when it comes to Royal Rumble entrance, and we'll talk about this in a couple weeks, I'm sure, more in depth, is the Faces of Foley.
Yes.
97, yes, they were unannounced, but they weren't really like, oh wow, like who's the Mexican guy now? With all due respect to the mascot, it's like, hey, who's okay? So I know Mil Mascaras, and this is gonna suck a dick, but okay. Who are the rest of these guys?
Cybernetico, the Latin Lover.
Yeah. I know who they all are now, obviously, but in 97, you're like, hey, let's keep going.
Who's next?
Yeah.
Goldberg status. Who's next?
Yeah. Dwayne Gill. Oh, wait, this is 1998. Never mind. Go ahead. Keep going. But yeah, 98. I think the commentary alone when Foley came out as Mankind, it's like, hey, wait a minute. So
and then he came back as Dude Love. It's like, hey. You know what
JR's
I
like,
want to see this year? I'm throwing it out there in the ether, and we know we get watched. This is what I want to see. Number 1 entry, Elias.
uh-oh.
Get eliminated, go in the back, shave, come back out as Ezekiel.
You're a
Have
terrible person.
Ezekiel get injured so that he can take a month off, grow the beard back, come back as Elias.
You're a terrible person for putting that in the universe. You're a
No,
bad-
I'm not, goddammit. It's the
Um,
same thing as Cactus Mankind and Dude Love. That is
it's-
what I want to see.
No.
Yes.
I don't want it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
No. I'm saying no. Damn it, I'm saying no. Anyway, but yeah, that's
I mean, would you rather see that, or would you rather see Head Shrinker Fatu, the Sultan, and Rikishi?
yes, I would
No.
actually, believe it or not.
No.
I actually would.
No, Elias and Ezekiel, damn it.
No,
It needs
no,
to
no,
be
no.
done.
You
And
know
number
why?
2 needs to be Kevin Owens.
Oh,
So that he could have the moment,
no.
and then we could have when he comes back out.
Well, I can't say a lot at number 1 because the spoilers for stuff you probably haven't seen yet. But number 2, it's just no.
Yes.
Let me
And
just say it.
I will bring this back up on that show, but god damn it, we need
Come
that
on.
to happen.
No, I don't want to. You can't make me. No. Shit. I forgot what I was going to say now. Doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, that's just what's coming up in this week and then our next show for January. Man, like I said, we're going to hit you hard. We're going to hit you fast all quarter, all year. We've got a lot of good stuff coming up, and we thank all of you for watching the last 2 hours and editing maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter. But we thank you very much for your patronage. We thank you very much for your viewership, and we thank you for keeping us engaged and us allowing you to be engaged by the Dads, Not Always on Wrestling, the Constantine Studios, and the Jeff Meacham Network, Multiverse of Media. He is the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams, although it's not wrestling this week. It is by Renegade's rules this week because it is a non-wrestling show. I am, as
The
it
West
says
Coast
twice,
Professor.
yes,
Jeff motherfucking Meacham.
We are the Dads, and we will see you guys next time.